my name is Kevin and welcome to Kevin Cuts Class. Today I've got a special treat for you because we're going to go to one of my all-time favorite places on this planet, and that is Elk Rock Island, which is in Milwaukie, just south of Portland. The next town over is a short bike ride, especially on a beautiful day like today. So I'm going to hop on the bike and off we go, and I'll see you on the way. And here we are in Milwaukie. We're looking right now at Elk Rock Island, sitting out in the Willamette River. And you can see on the left side of the screen there's a land bridge, which is what we're going to cross to get to the island. Okay, we're almost there. Here we go. And here we are at the entrance to the park, Spring Park. This is Spring Park. This is not Elk Rock Park, this is Spring Park, but we get to go through two parks today. It's a 2-for-1. It's just a short walk down the trail, and then we'll start seeing some pretty amazing things, so let's go. Hello. Alright, so here we are at Elk Rock Island. We're on the land bridge right now that takes you over to the island. It's kind of windy right here, so I'll do my best to speak up over the wind. I've never known Elk Rock Island to not be accessible by foot, which means I guess that the Willamette River at various times has been higher than it is these days, and so it's always accessible by this land bridge. So we start here with the land bridge. We're going to learn about the ancient and venerable history of Elk Rock Island, as well as the more recent history of this area. As you can see, the rock is very craggy. You would not want to walk across this blindfolded, even on a dare, unless there were really a shocking amount of money involved, because you will trip and scrape your knee or stub your toe. So I don't recommend walking across blindfolded. It's craggy like this because, as you can see, it is volcanic. Yeah, of course, that's obvious, right? You're thinking, gosh, no, is that sedimentary or metamorphic? Or no, that's got to be igneous rock. This is all volcanic rock we're looking at right here, all of it. So you're wondering, why is it? Oh, here's a nice specimen. There, you see? There you go. Right, igneous rock. Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. That's right. It's igneous rock. And the reason it's igneous rock is because, well, let's talk about that right now. So take yourself back 40 million years. Yes, I said million, not 40,000 years or even 40 months, but 40 million years ago, the land that makes up Oregon now was submerged in the Pacific Ocean. There was no Oregon land. And there was a small volcano that stuck out, that started forming at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, and over the years it got bigger and bigger, as volcanoes tend to do, and eventually it stuck its head out of the Pacific and became an island, just in the way that Hawaii is nothing but a bunch of massive volcanoes sitting under water with just a little bit on top. So this is a volcano. And it is buried in siltation that came out of the Rocky Mountains over millions of years. I don't know how they figure this out. You know, I mean, who knows? That's why the scientists get paid the big bucks to ferret out these mysteries. But yeah, we're standing at the top of what amounts to something like a 10,000-foot volcano that is now completely buried, except for where we are right now. So isn't that amazing? That just completely blows me away every time I come here and I think about what's standing beneath me. I'm standing on top of what lies beneath me. Massive volcano. This is it. We're at the top. We're at the summit. This is the easiest summit I will ever make in my life when it comes to climbing mountains and volcanoes. So I highly recommend Elk Rock Island if you are generally versed in rock or mountain climbing, but would like to say you climbed a 10,000-foot volcano. All right, so we are now on the island proper, and we're going to walk around the loop of this island, and I'm going to show you a few things and tell you a little bit about the colorful history, but not quite yet for the colorful part, because I still have more geology to discuss. got to start with the important things, the basics, geology. So we're on the Willamette River right now, and it might seem like quite a coincidence that Elk Rock Island is sticking up out of the Willamette, which you can easily see on Google Earth. There's this big round piece of land showing in the middle of the Willamette. Well, how did that get there? Coincidence? You might think it's a coincidence. Well, guess what? No, it's not a coincidence, because the ancient and venerable volcano that is this island now affected various fault lines and such like in the Earth's crust, which then affected the direction of incipient rivers like the Willamette. And the presence of this volcano, at first I don't remember exactly how this happened, because I'm no geologist. Hey, caveat, I'm not a geologist. I was a foreign language major, okay? I'm not a geologist, so I'm just doing the best I can thinking about this video I saw already probably 25 years ago at this place. Yeah. All right, we're going to see how good my memory is. And so the presence of this volcano affected the flow of the Willamette, and it's no coincidence that the Willamette today flows right around this volcano, right here. All right, so that brings us to the end of ancient history, ancient geologic history, and up to a mere 10,000 years ago or so. This place was almost certainly used by Native Americans. How could you have been a Native American and not be, not come to this place, if not live here year-round, because it's just so amazing. Now this is called Elk Rock Island. Now Elk Rock is right across the river here. We can see there is quite a cliff right there. That's apparently Elk Rock. That's what I understand. That's Elk Rock. And the story is that the locals, the Native Americans, used to drive elk and such like off of the cliff to the bottom, where their compadres and compatriots collected up the carcasses for dinner. I guess that was easier than, conventional, what we normally think of as hunting. It certainly is a form of hunting, and rather clever, I have to say, and effective if you can just get the animals to take that final fatal step off the cliff. Yeah. And so it became known as Elk Rock Island or the Elk Rock, and then this place, Elk Rock Island, by association. Okay, so that's the ancient human history. There certainly is more to tell, but I don't know what it is. That brings us up to a mere 100 years ago. Well, 120 years ago. We'll take your mind back to the year 1900 or so. Milwaukie, Oregon was distinct from Portland. It still is not Portland, but it's adjacent to Portland. They're, they share a border. But 120 years ago, there was quite a stretch of land between Milwaukie and Portland. And so you had to come down from Portland to Milwaukie. It was, a day trip. And eventually the white people found this island and thought it was a pretty sweet place. And so they decided to have some fun with it. And what that means specifically is that the Portland Rowing Club, I don't know anything about the Portland Rowing Club, I'm assuming that it had to do with rowing, and they were club-like, and it was related to Portland. That's what I can figure out from the name of this group. The Portland Rowing Club owned the island and leased it out to somebody, the Smiths, I think, the Smiths. Yeah, I believe it was the Smith family, and they built a summer resort structure on this island, and I'll show you where I believe it was here in just a little bit. And this was in 1902, when they built this large clubhouse that was also a space for the owners to live in. Prohibition came along, and people used to come down from Portland to, I presume that they got off, I assume they got off right here. You can see that there's a little landing still here today for people to get off the boat, and they could come drink. They could come drink their alcohol, because it was illegal during Prohibition, right? Now, what I also understand is that this place also, according to my sources, was a place where women of loose morals also came. So now imagine this. You've got a bunch of drunk guys on this island far from Portland, out of the hinterlands of Milwaukee, a bunch of drunk guys hanging out on a summer evening. And there also happen to be a lot of women of loose morals. Now, can you guess what kind of business opportunities present themselves? And so that was a big thorn in the side of whatever the law-abiding officials were at the time. Portland did have a history of corruption, like probably every single city in this world. Who knows today? I would hope not, but certainly we had our share of it. All right, so right now I'm climbing up this outcrop, which is one of my favorite outcrops. When I was back in the former life, when I was a grade school teacher, I had a second grade class. I used to bring classes of kids out here, some complete classes, like my whole second grade class, sometimes groups of ESL kids, and I used to bring them out here for a field trip for life. This is an adventure. I could either give them, I figured I could give them a worksheet on Elk Rock Island, or I could bring them here. Which one should I do? Worksheet or bring them here? Well, duh. This was back in the days when I had the energy for this sort of thing, and it was actually doable. So yeah, I brought kids to Elk Rock Island for adventures and learning, for their education. As I'm fond of saying, it was to educate them. The family was owned by Peter Kerr. This island was owned by Peter Kerr for a while, quite a long while actually. They lived across the river in a big old house. I get up here. All right. So yeah, I used to bring groups of kids up here for field trips. It was a lot of fun. And my favorite trips to take the kids. Trips because coming to Elk Rock Island is not in the Common Core. There's nothing in the Common Core about going to Elk Rock Island. Therefore, I don't do it. It's just not done. Okay. Now, we're going to now walk up onto what I think of as the crown of this island, which is the proper caldera of the volcano. I don't even know where the caldera is. You can't see it. It's all been weathered away. This is an extinct volcano, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Not that it will concern you as you're watching this on video from a safe distance, but I'm the one potentially in danger's way, subjecting myself to a volcano. But not to worry. This is at least dormant, if not extinct. So everything's cool. Doing some research about Elk Rock Island, and there are all kinds of flowers and microclimates as you go up in elevation just a little bit to the top of this crown. But you know what? I'm not really much of a plant person. I'm not a biologist, not a botanist, zoologist. That's all very nice, but I don't really know anything about it except to say, oh, that's a pretty flower. Or that flower is making me sick. I just got hives from touching that plant. That's not good. That's about what I know. All right, so here we are in the crown, and there are lots of trees and plants, as you can see. I don't know what they're called. Plants and trees. That's what I do know. I'm going to shut up now and just let you enjoy this looping trail around the crown of Elk Rock. So here we go. So, we're looking to the north right now. According to my information, the Summer Lodge, the Elk Rock, the Elk Island, the Rock Island Club was right here and burned down in a great conflagration in 1916, and that was the end of the debauched period of Elk Rock Island. But there doesn't seem to be enough room for a massive clubhouse, but yeah, I don't know, maybe there is. Anyway, that's where it was supposed to be, just right there. Not a trace of it today. Obviously, it's just long gone, over 100 years ago. Let's continue on our tour. Alright, a do not enter sign. I guess that means I'm not going to enter. The reason for that is that it's a year and a half ago or so, the West Coast, a lot of Oregon at any rate, Oregon, I just went up in flames one summer. It was during COVID, during the pandemic of nobody going anywhere, Oregon burned. It was actually a very scary time with the double plague of the pandemic and raging wildfires everywhere, and really no place to escape to. We were on the verge of evacuating, but I didn't know where we were actually going to go. I bring this up. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. I bring this up only because this island also burned. Some of it anyway was rather dismayed when I learned that the island was burning. That was a sad moment, but as we can see, actually fire is good and necessary for the ecosystem, and actually not much of the fire burned, even though it sure seemed like it at the time. So some of it's still closed for restoration and whatever the fire restoration people do to make it all right again. Okay, we're coming back out on to the south side where we more or less began this looping adventure. And that concludes our visit to Elk Rock Island. So if you're in Portland, you've got a couple hours and you really want to get out and see something interesting, this place is accessible. It's readily accessible. Not many people come here. Not too many people know about it. Though I can't guarantee how many people would be here, but it's, you can get some peace and tranquility out here most of the time. And also now you know the story of Elk Rock Island and how it is still a massive volcano that is pretty much completely buried except for just the very top. And you will know something that not even most Portlanders are even aware of. All right, so that's it for Elk Rock Island. I hope you enjoyed our visit. And all right, so this is Kevin for Kevin Cuts Class. Out.